Okay, today we're going to be learning about stat tracking and saving and loading inside of Unity. By the end of this, we'll have some player stat tracking functionality where we'll then also display the scores to the player. So on my game over screen, I'm going to quickly create some UI which allows us to view what the stats of the player is, which will have be populated later. I'm literally just going to be using a bit of text to do this, so you can expand this in any way that you want to do yourself, but yeah, I'm keeping it simple for this tutorial. So to start, we'll create a brand new script which we'll call player stat tracking. We're going to make this an instance and don't destroy on load so that it's persistent between all the scenes. We'll start by declaring a new public static player stat tracking and call it instance, so it's an instance of itself. Then in an awake method, we'll say if instance is not equal to null, destroy the game object. Else, instance equals this. Then below this, do don't destroy on load of game object. Now, just to test out that this specific feature is working, I'm going to create a new empty game object called playerStatTrack, and I'm going to place it in my scene and attach this script to it. And I'm going to do the same thing inside of the main menu, and then when we press play, you should see that you'll get a little tab at the bottom which says don't destroy on load, and when we load into our main scene, this should just persist through the two scenes and not create a duplicate. Now for the actual saving part. We're going to create two new variables, one for the current zombies killed, which will track how many zombies the player has killed in just this game, and an all-time zombies killed, which will track how many zombies the player has killed across all of their games. Then we'll create two new public void methods, one for increment current zombies killed, and one for increment all-time zombies killed. Okay, inside of my script, I've now added a new public string called all-time kills string, which I'm going to hard set to just all-time kills. Inside of my increment current zombies killed, I've just added current zombies killed ++, and at the top I've also set this to 0 so that it's always initialized at 0 when the game starts. Inside the increment all-time zombies killed, we're going to pass in a string key name as the parameter for the method. Then inside we're going to create a new local variable called current value, and that's going to equal player prefs.getIn key name 0. Then below that, we'll increment the current value. Then we'll set the int in the player prefs, and we'll pass in the key name and the current value. Then we'll do player prefs.save, and I'm just going to debug this all-time kills by doing player prefs.getIn, pass in the all-time kills string. Now to round this script off, I'm going to create a new public void method, and it's going to be called getAllTimeZombiesKilled, and it will have a parameter of a string called saved variable name. Inside, it will just say player prefs.getIn by the saved variable name. Okay, now for the logic to actually work, we're going to need to head into our enemy script, and we're going to declare a new private variable of our player stat tracking script, and we're just going to call it player stats. Now, I am aware that using GameObject.find isn't necessarily the best method for getting and assigning variables without them being public. However, we're just going to keep using it here. This is just a simple tutorial, so if you want to come up with a different method yourself, you can do that. But in our start method, we're going to say player stats equals GameObject.find player stat track, which is the name of our game object in the scene, dot get component player stat tracking our script. Then head down to the die method, and then we're going to do player stats.increment all-time zombies killed, and we're going to pass in as the parameter player stats.alltime kills string, so that we just have a consistent string which we're passing in, and there's going to be no issues there. Then below that, we're going to say player stats.increment current zombies killed, as this is what will be displayed at the end. This all-time zombies killed is mainly just so I can display the all-time kills in the main menu, as I just think that's a nice thing for the player to be able to see. Now, if you press play, you'll see that when you kill a zombie, you'll get a debug just saying an integer number increasing with every kill. And then if you unpress play and then replay again, you'll see that that number is persistent between the sessions. Okay, so now we got those two values, we got our all-time zombies killed, and we got our current zombies killed. We can now display the current zombies killed at the end of the game, and we can display the all-time zombies killed in the main menu. Let's start by just displaying the current zombies killed. Head into your player controller, and underneath the references header, I'm going to create a new serialized field private reference of a Text Mesh Pro UG UI that I'm going to call zombies killed text. Then in my private references, I'm going to again get a reference to our player stat tracking called player stats, and then just do the GameObject.find as usual in our start method. Then I'm going to scroll down to our player take damage method, and inside where we're calling our death mechanic, I'm going to just do zombies killed text.text equals, and then do a string for zombies killed, and then add a space at the end, plus player stats.zombieskilled.toString. So now when the player dies and the game over UI is set to true, the zombies killed text will be populated saying zombies killed with the number of zombies which they killed. Okay, so finally one thing I forgot to add. Inside of the player stat tracking, we're going to need to call our getAllTimeZombiesKilled in the awake method so that this variable actually gets populated. So to actually populate this, we're going to need to change the line of code which we've got in here, and we're just going to basically add all time zombies killed equals player prefs.getIn by the saved variable name. Pass this in the awake method, and we'll use our all time kills string as the parameter. To display the all time kill count to the player in the main menu, what I've done is I've put some world space UI and some text just above their player model. Inside of my main menu script, I'm getting a reference to our player stats again, doing the GameObject.find in the start as usual. I've declared a text mesh pro of all time kills, and then we're setting that all time kills text to equal all time kill count with a space plus player stats.all time zombies killed. Assign the variable in the inspector, and you'll now see that when you press play, you'll get your all time kill count above your player. Alright, we actually have one more thing to tackle. You would have noticed that if you press play and run through your game multiple times, the current zombies killed number is not getting reset when we restart our game. This is because it's a singleton and it is persisting between the scenes, so when we're setting it to 0, it's not actually resetting. To fix this, I'm going to create a new public void method, which I'm just going to call reset zombies killed. In here, I'm going to set my current zombies killed to 0. Then I'm going to go into my player controller script and I'm going to call this method when we die. Alright, sweet, so that's that done for today. The next episode, we actually have a big thing to tackle. So one thing you may have been considering the whole time is due to the way that we've set up our rooms, if you want to have rooms that actually have an environment, you need a nav mesh for them to be able to bake onto, otherwise the enemies would just get stuck on objects. So essentially in the next episode, we're going to be trying to update our nav mesh bake live in-game so that the AI is able to react to any environmental changes which have happened live. So yeah, that's done for today, see ya.